Hello everyone. I took a little break this week to work on some long-term projects, but that just means that you, the viewer, get another tutorial. Today I'm going to demo 3 uses for the scatter brush and also go over a couple of topics that have popped up in the comments about my previous tutorials. As always, my tutorials are done in Moho Debut because I want to ensure that Debut users get the most out of their software and have a solid foundation on its tools before they consider updating to Pro. So, let's get started. Okay, so the first matter that we should address today is my use of shortcuts. A user pointed out, please try to record with any software that shows shortcuts in records and records in the next videos because I'm sending videos from here. Okay, definitely, yeah. Thanks for sending these out to your friends. I definitely want to help people, get the most that they can out of Debut. But the problem is, I use some non-standard shortcuts. So for today. These are the only keyboard shortcuts that I'm going to use, plus the mouse wheel to adjust numbers up or down. That's a very handy feature if you didn't know about it. If you click on an area with a number, you can use the mouse wheel, you can scroll it up, you can scroll it down, and you can actually see the impact of adjusting the number as you roll that up and down. But for today, the only reason I'm using these is because these are ones that are kind of tedious to go into the main menus. For everything else, I'm going to use the regular established tools. So you should be able to see everything that I'm doing. Alright, so let's start here and we'll talk a little bit about the scatter brush. If you've ever played around with the scatter brush, which you can find right here, this little combination of triangles, you have this drop down box and it has different things that you can do. So we'll throw it onto landscape, and if you've got the tool enabled and you just click somewhere, it'll throw like little clip art objects here and there as you click and drag, or if you can even just click in one location and something will appear. And I'm going to Control Z to make these disappear. You know what, I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. Here we go. These are kind of clip art quality though, so here's some bubbles. These are pretty good actually. And let's see, let's do some leaves, because it's always useful to have leaves. These are pretty good. They're kind of evenly spaced though. I mean, you can just click on the screen if you want to put one in one specific space. But there's lots of other things you can do with Scatterbrush, especially after you combine it with other tools. And that's kind of what I want to demo today. We're going to take Scatterbrush and we're going to try and do some interesting things with it. Alright, first thing we're going to do today is a Kirby Crackle. Let me render this right quick so y'all can see. There's kind of a blur layer of red, a blur layer of yellow, and we've got this very, very dark purple background, which I'm using for outer space. Alright, but what we are going to do is we're going to add something, and that is with the scatter brush. And we're going to use a feature at the bottom here where it says use clipboard. So let's create a dot, fill only. For the fill color, we want to replicate the background here, the sky. And holding down the shift key, I'm going to drag and make a perfect circle. Maybe I'll make my circle a little bit smaller. There we go. Alright, with those points selected, we go back to the scatter brush, and you also have to hit Control C, which puts that circle on the clipboard. We'll go back to the scatter brush, and now you see Use Clipboard is enabled. So we'll click on that, and now if I click here and there, that circle will take a bite out of the yellow, and this creates some negative space, which Jack Kirby was really well known for creating his crackle effects. There's some options you can toy with. The spacing will adjust how far they are from each other. We don't need the fill color jitter. We're going to leave that at 0 actually, because we want these colors to be consistently the same as the background. And flip X, flip Y, these will randomly flip it either left to right or up to down. We don't really need those because this is a circle. It's exactly the same left to right as it is up to down. But you also have the option of max widths, 30, 32, and you always want to test out your max widths before you settle on the sizes that you like. Bite, bite, bite. Bite, 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 bite. And you want to add a little weave to your brush as you go along, because nature is irregular and unusual, and just throw in a random one, a nice deep one for a big bite. Here we go, like that. So let's hit the render key. And so it kind of looks like you got these bubbles flowing along the blurred outer edge. They're a little far out than I would have preferred, but it's not too bad. It's very close to what it usually does. Now we're gonna blend some of the yellow onto the red here. So first, deselect the clipboard because we're going to change the content of the clipboard. Go back to your selector, pick your original bubble. Actually, let's select it using object, and we're going to change its color to yellow. This bright, vibrant yellow. Now we use the selection tool to select again and hit Control-C to copy it onto the clipboard again. Go back to the scatter brush. Change to use clipboard, and we're going to make these a little bit smaller since they have to fit behind the bigger bubbles. We'll go to layer 3, and as you can see, the yellow starts to take a bite out of the red. Chomp, 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 chomp. Sorry. These are a little too regular, so I want to add some irregularity here because, you know. And now we're going to do a couple more, but we're going to make these really tiny, and they're going to be kind of more along the center. Not a lot, just a couple of little streaks here and there. All right, I'm going to hit Control-R to render that and see what it looks like. It's a little obvious. I think I probably could have used a little less blending between the red and the yellow, but yeah, it's close to a Kirby crackle. I think I've done a little bit better before, but this is definitely a good way to demo, you know, how the scatter brush works. Really basic one with minimum, you know, adjustments, color, fill, etc. All right, now we're going to do a wall. Now I've already got the background of the wall here, basic gray. So going back to the scatter brush, make sure you switched it back to something other than use clipboard. And now let's create the shape that we're going to use for kind of random rubble in here. We'll pick a different fill. Orange is like a kind of an interesting Illustrator color for stones. So let's use orange just for fun. And just make kind of a irregular shape. Bloop. There we go. So let's select that, go back to the scatter brush, and use clipboard. So we definitely want to add angle jitter because you don't want these all to be oriented the same way. Otherwise it'll look kind of weird, like a weird wall. We'll scale the spacing back to 1. And we want the color to be different a little bit. So I'm going to use this mouse wheel to roll it up to about 30 here. There's no stroke color, but we do want to flip X and Y. That way it's reversed and that adds more irregularity. Okay, so, oh, it's still doing the yellow bubbles. Hang on. Go back to the scatter brush. Switch back to bubbles, the selector, and I may have forgotten to hit Control-C to put it on the clipboard. There we go. All right, these are tiny. Not bad. They are pretty tiny though. So Control-Z to undo that, and we're going to make them a little bit bigger. Let's go big. We're going to go to 50. I'm going to go to 50 and let's say 70. There we go. Boom, there we go. Nice big irregular slates. And always draw going both left to right and right to left. That way your hands don't get used to just moving in one direction. I find that you lose a lot of irregularity if you only draw in one direction. Like if you draw only clockwise circles, eventually your circles become really uniform. So you want to kind of alternate a couple of clockwise, couple of counterclockwise. All right, let's render this. It's not bad. This could definitely pass for like a paver stone driveway, not a driveway, but a walkway or something like that. But to make it a little more stone-like, let's fiddle with the layer a bit. This is an option right here, noise, that I like for stone because I kind of think of it as the salt and pepper shaker of color. It sprinkles slightly lighter and slightly darker shades of the surrounding colors into the picture. So I'm setting it for 15. I hit OK. And this is probably not going to show up that well on YouTube because YouTube tends to blur out a lot of the texturing. But yeah, there's a lot of color irregularity in this picture now and gives it a more stone-like appearance. So definitely a way to make stone walls, stone pathways, and things like that very quickly too. And you know, I could throw in even more, make a second shape and throw even more irregularity into this if I wanted to. But as a quick wall, yeah, this works. All right, lastly, we're gonna do some waves. Let me add another layer to this just to keep it organized. And we will name that waves. All right, very simple. We want a fairly light blue on this sea. So we got our sea down here at the bottom, sky up here. And really we just want a 3-point line. And we want it to have a certain amount of asymmetry. So make one end longer than the other. Now we'll use our fill brush set to stroke. And let's increase that width to about 5. Plop that on there. Deselect the points. And yep, that looks exactly what I want. Now we will go to line width and we will expand the middle a bit. Oops. And we'll go to transform points and raise that middle up. So it kind of looks like a chevron shape. And let's make the outer edges a little skinnier too. All right. So going back to scatter brush, go back to bubbles, selector tool, select the object we want to copy. We hit Control C to add it to the clipboard. And use clipboard, and we're going to scale this back. Now we're going to make 3 layers of waves. The ones furthest back are going to be smaller, and then after that we'll adjust it, and the mid layer ones, like kind of along here, are going to be middle sized, and the bottom ones are going to be bigger. Okay, let's see how this looks. Oh, we left some of the scatter brush options turned on. We don't want any angle jitter because these are we don't want them tilted sideways like a really turbulent sea. We don't want variable color either, and we don't need stroke color adjusted. But we do want flip X because it's asymmetric. We did that on purpose. That way some of the waves are longer to the left, some are longer to the right. Okay. So yes, this is definitely a good medium. Add a little up and down. Do about 2 passes here. And you know, if you want to cross over your original line, that's fine. All right, let's scale that down to about, let's say 11 to 16. Now we're going to do the far background waves. Yeah, nice irregular line. Do a second one. And you know, if you just want to add a couple here and there, add a couple of smaller irregular ones to your medium-sized ones here and there just to keep things interesting, definitely do it. Nature, to the human eye, is chaos. In measurement, nature is actually very organized, but here it's chaos. All right, now we're going to do some big ones. Let's roll this up to say, let's go 28 to about 33. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, it's a little too close to the medium. I hit Control Z to undo, so we're going to go up to, like, say 31 to 37. There we go. We got some big waves here at the bottom now. You know, and go below your canvas. That's fine. Yeah, let's make this nice and dense here and there. You know, we want this to have lots of waves. I'll hit Control R to render that. Not a bad. As a static sea, it looks okay. But you know what? We're going to apply a couple of other tools to make this sea a little more interesting. What I want you to do is grab your selector tool and drag and select all of your waves. I right-clicked just now to move the canvas around. Let me move the timeline forward to about 3 seconds. And just a quick note. I'm a little weird. My frame rate is usually set for 15. That kind of makes my files and my work a little more compact. It's good for doing a lot of quick work when you're a beginner. So 3 seconds, and I'm going to drag this down so that they stretch out a bit. The top ones have moved very little, and the top and the bottom ones have moved a lot. And now let's see. You know what, let's also copy frame 0 to frame 1. You'll understand in a minute. And now let's go to frame 6, and we want everything to kind of return to normal. Control B. All right. So let's take frame 6 here, select everything using the drag, right click, and choose cycle. And they demo this really well in the tutorials. So let's go to relative, and let's see, scale it, and bring it up to frame 2 here. It'll say 88, but for absolute sake, make sure you have relative selected, set it for 88. Okay, so let's go back to frame 1. Nice slow waves. Might be a little too slow, but it's good enough for what we want to demonstrate. Make sure you've got 12 seconds because you're going to want to be able to see this 2 times. All right, now this isn't bad. Let me deselect all these points and show you what this looks like. You know, it's not bad. The entire sea tends to move all at once, so it almost looks more like the camera is going up and down rather than the sea moving in and out. If you want to simulate the camera going up and down, that's great, but that's not what we want. So we want to add a bit of oscillation to this. So let's go back to our select points button. And we're going to start the selection from the top here, but we're going to exclude a chunk of these ones at the bottom. Exclude about half of your big ones. So we're going to go down to about right here. There we go. Yeah, see, I've got these ones at the bottoms that are deselected. Now, go to your timeline and click drag so that you grab these points here at the bottom. And now move them over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Move them over about 6 or 7 frames. And watch what happens. You get a bit of oscillation where the bottom waves move first. It looks a little more natural. So let's do this some more. Select tool. Now we're going to draw the box, but we're going to exclude all of the bigger waves. To go to about here. So we got about 2/3 of our waves selected. Select the bottom points, which are the ones selected, and let's roll this forward to about the 1 second mark. Let's do it again, but now we're going to select about half of our waves. Drag so you only have the bottom. Roll it forward about half a second. Now do it again, but only about 1/3 of the waves. There we go. Drag so you only have the bottom selected. Go forward to 30. And now we're going to do about, just the top edge selected. Drag to select the bottom and roll it forward halfway to 3 seconds. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to the sea, that way nothing is highlighted. Let's put this in motion. And you've got some actual wave oscillation going on. Looks more like a sea, not exactly like a sea, but more like a sea. It's pretty good. It would look a lot better in an actual render because gradients don't show up in the preview during animation. So here's a single frame. So you can kind of imagine all of this in motion. It's pretty good. All right, now I want to talk to y'all about keyboard layout, a topic that came up earlier. I use a very non-standard keyboard layout, and here is why. You've always got the mouse in your left hand, your mouse in your right hand, and your left hand is on the keyboard. And the most tedious part for me is building models. So my keyboard is layout is designed so that making rigs and models is primarily controlled from my left hand on the leftmost keys. The way it's almost like playing a video game at that point, because you got your WASD and all of the surrounding controls that you use a lot. So this is what I use. For select, I have that set for Q, transform points is set for W, add points is set for E, and curvature is set for R. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 right across here. For fill, I have select shape A, create shape S, paint bucket D, And line width F, ASDF, right here. Again, right under my left hand. And lastly, for the layer, transform layer Z and set origin X right here at the bottom. So the controls that I use the most stay underneath my left hand, right where I want them, and I can select them anytime I want to do the things that I need to do quickly without looking at the keyboard or checking things. So it's quick. I highly recommend these. Where you go to do this, you go to Edit and Edit Keyboard Shortcuts. It's a very big list. You can filter the actions by category. Be very careful. It will let you know if you've got something set for a single key set for two different functions. So for example, Open Control O is also set for something else further down. Be sure to save it. All right, last but not least, I had another user ask about doing nested masks. So he wants a nested mouth, which is useful for having the teeth and the tongue, of course, behind the outline of the mouth, but also have the mouth nested on a face. And this is actually pretty easy to do in Moho. This isn't hard at all. So we'll do mouth outline here. I'll draw a quick one. Just a quick triangular mouth, and I like to fill it with dark blue, but we'll make the lips kind of reddish. So I'll do a simple chevron-shaped mouth, like that. All right. Add another vector. We'll make this the tongue. I like to make the tongue a basic pink. We'll use the circle, autofill, of course, and put it right on top there because we're going to mask these off. Do another vector, and this one will be the teeth. I like to make the teeth just slightly off-white. And we'll draw a rectangle. Zoop. All right, and let's add a bone layer. We are in debut, so the only layer that can mask is a bone layer. In Pro, you also have group layers. So we go into our masking, hide all, and also go to mouth outline. Oop. Masking, hide all, I forgot to hit apply. Go to mouth outline and hit exclude strokes because you want to be able to see the lips. The strokes are acting as your lips. And there you go. Got a simple mouth here. Kind of weird looking, but move my center to the center of the mouth, and we're going to move the layer over. Now we're going to take this mouth and we're going to nest it with a mask in another layer. So we'll make layer one here the face. It's going to go behind the mouth, of course. And we're just going to make a simple oval face with a stroke. Let me see here. Black outline. We'll make this person kind of reddish. Oops, I did those the exact opposite. Black outline. Scale back the outline a little bit using the scroll wheel. All right. Basic face on the mouth. So let's add a bone here. And this will be the head, which contains both the mouth and the face. So I will drag those two into the bone layer. Now we'll go into the head layer, and for masking, once again, hit hide all and apply. And for the face, we'll hit exclude strokes. This is debatable because when you move the mouth to the edge of the face, you may want to be able to show the mouth open. So actually, we're going to turn that off. We're going to leave that and make sure add to mask. All right. So you can't tell right now. This has actually worked because the mouth is on the face. So of course it's visible in the hide all condition. Now I'm going to demonstrate something that shows up a little weird in the preview image. I'm going to drag the mouth to the edge of the face. And you notice like the teeth and the tongue have disappeared, but the mouth is still there. So is Moho doing this incorrectly? Well, kind of yes and kind of no. In the preview pane, which is what we're looking at right now, it shows up incorrectly. However, if I render an image, you notice that the mouth is correctly masked off from the rest of the face. The outer edge of the mouth is gone, which is exactly how it should look. So I normally try not to do nested masking too much, especially while I'm building the model. But it does work for the final rendering. It just doesn't work very well in the preview pane. And that's pretty much all there is to that. That's all I had for y'all today. Enjoy the scatter brush. Try out different things with it. You could do freckles with a scatter brush. You could do grass. You could do reeds. You could do porcupine spines. All kinds of different things. Give it a try. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I should have a new video out in about 2 weeks. Bye-bye.